Florida has just passed a law that allows any parent to challenge how evolution and climate change are taught in the schools. Here's the rest of it. Less than a week, this is in Ceylon, less than a week after satellite temperature data was revised and the full extent of global warming became even clearer, which we talked about extensively, Florida's Republican Christian Governor Rick Scott, who belongs in prison for the fraud that his company committed against people when he had a health insurance company, but that's another story. Rick Scott signed into law a bill that will make it easy for any Florida resident to object to science-based education in the classroom. Any Florida resident, not parents with kids in school, any Florida resident who doesn't like science-based curriculum can now file a complaint. The statute, which went into effect on July 1st, forces school boards to hire what the law calls, quote, and don't laugh, an unbiased hearing officer who will look into complaints about instructional material, end quote. That's according to a report by the Washington Post. Now, the main proponents of this law, the people who are really pushing it, is a group called the Florida Citizens Alliance, which is another Christian sewer. And they argue that state-approved textbooks are too liberal. The group, Florida Citizens Alliance, complains on its website, quote, purchased at taxpayer expense, these materials teach our children that European socialism is better than free markets and that the government is the answer to every problem, end quote. Yeah, well, European socialism is better than free markets. I mean, free markets aren't free, and they're not markets. I'm not going to get into that. But it's a total manipulation, and these dumb sons of bitches have put these groups together and say things like, European socialism, blah, 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 blah. They don't have a goddamn clue what they're talking about. Now, the guidelines that were passed into law specifically singles out material that parents believe may be pornographic. Taught in the schools? Jesus Christ. That's what the law says. If you think pornography is being taught to your children, here's a law to sustain your objection. Jesus. The guidelines single out material that parents believe may be pornographic or, quote, is not suited to student needs and their ability to comprehend the material presented, or is inappropriate for the grade level and age group, end quote. Look, I mean, how many students entering first grade understand first grade math? In other words, when they first go to first grade math is too complicated for them to comprehend. That's the whole goddamn reason of school. And we go to 5th grade, same thing, and 10th grade, same thing. So this stupid fucking law says material that is not suited to student needs and their ability to comprehend the material. Tell me how many high school students, when they're first confronted with algebra, comprehend the material. Now, I'm not talking about your, math genius or somebody like that. I'm just talking about average kids. One complaint filed, and a complainant, one person in Florida, filed an affidavit complaining that creationism, which is a bullshit word, wasn't taught alongside evolution, even though, this is what the complaint said, quote, the two main theories on the origin of man are the theory of evolution and creationism, end quote. Hell yeah. Another complainant argued that global warming and evolution shouldn't be taught as, quote, reality. The communications director for Florida Citizens for Science, a guy named Brandon Haught, wrote in a blog post about this new law, be careful, Brandon, you're going to get death threats. He wrote, quote, you must keep an eye on your local school board and everyone who brings forth a complaint about textbooks. If you don't, we truly lose. At this point, the fight is at the local level. If you're not there and willing to stand up for sound science education, then we're done. End quote. And later, Mr. Haught added this regarding a so-called Religious Liberties Bill. Oh, fuck. That was signed into law on June 9th. Mr. Haught said this, quote, part of that new law states, quote, a school district may not discriminate, so far so good, against a student, parent, or school personnel, so far so good, on the basis of a religious viewpoint or religious expression, end quote. Well, what if the religious viewpoint or a religious expression is that queers are condemned by Jesus or God? What if it's around black people are descended of apes, but not white people? What if it's, you see what I'm saying? Brandon Haught said, quote, we already know for a fact that at least one organization will combine both laws in their crusade against what they view as inaccuracies in Florida textbooks. I tell you, people, the stupider the population, the better that Republicans have a chance of staying in power. I mean, here it is, the 21st century, and we have people questioning, Americans, questioning evolution, gravity, whether the earth is flat. We are determined to destroy the country. Now, when I say we, I'm not talking about you and me, but you and I are partly responsible. We really are. Because you and I are part of the potential massive resistance that is not resisting. Make America weak again. Just, I swear to God. You know, as far as education is concerned, I know this was true like forever, and it continues to be true, except it's not going to be true too much longer. We rely, don't we, on the next generation behind us, the one coming up, to have the intellectual tools, the sense, the understanding of how things work, in order to keep society going. If we fall back into this religious horseshit, if we fall back into an unscience-based education, if we refuse to, especially in Florida, of all places, which by the year 2075 or 2100 probably won't exist anymore. Oh, it'll be there, but it'll all be underwater. But especially in Florida, where the idea is to challenge the science of global warming. It has been challenged. It's been challenged repeatedly by science and by scientists. And the result continues to be the same. We are now engaged in heating the planet. There is no way to stop it. There may be a way to slow it, but it's not going to be stopped. And these stupid sons of bitches and their funky, nasty-ass religion